This is my Sony HRD-AZ1 action cam, and today I'm on a mission to get sharper and smoother trail footage. So I got this Sony HRD-AZ1 camera about 3 years ago, and I would say at the time of purchase it was actually a little bit better than what GoPro was offering. And I would say that for a few reasons. The first being the Carl Zeiss lens. That's something that, has been a part of Sony or used in Sony's for a long time, but really good lens. It has steady shot, so that's Sony's optical image stabilization, and it does a pretty good job, especially, looking back 3 years ago, really good job. And the biggest thing is these two microphones here, stereo mics, and they are not waterproof. And that may sound like a bad thing, but it's actually a good thing if you're not shooting in water, which I don't, because waterproof microphones always have a bit of a muffled sound because they have to deal with the waterproof issue. This doesn't, so the sound quality is fantastic. Most of the time on this channel, I'm using the audio from this camera. Regardless of if I'm shooting with another camera, I'll just use this one, sync it up. So great sound. Connects by Wi-Fi, a lot of other basic things that you would expect. But there are some downsides to it as well. So the first is the focal length on this lens. It is really good at focusing, I would say, between 3 and 6 feet. And anything beyond that gets blurry. So for my case, shooting trail footage, I've got nice sharp handlebars, which aren't really that important. And then the trail and the trees in the distance are all kind of blurry. And then the other issue, although at the time this steady shot was great, by today's standards with the GoPro 7 and its hyper smooth, and then that DJI Osmo Action that has some crazy stabilization that's even better than that, this one's sort of not so great in comparison. But there are ways that I can address both of those things, and I'm going to start first by addressing this focal length issue. So in terms of the focal length, it's really just a matter of this lens that you're seeing and its relation to the lens that's deeper in, just like you would focus any other camera, except it's just set where they put it here. So I've taken the battery out, I've taken the memory card out, and what I need to do is basically take the outer shell off of this thing, and then I can start messing with the placement of that lens. Let's get that out of the way. There was a little tiny gasket here. Don't want to lose that. This is legitimately the first time I'm attempting this, so hopefully I don't screw something up along the way. But yeah, there we go. The entire shell should come apart. Couple random pieces here that I have to figure out where that goes and figure out where that goes when I put it back. Apparently there's one more to have to remove. So what I had to do is actually pop this cap off and then wiggle around a lot to get this to come off and expose what I'm looking for. So this lens is just screwed on here, and where it stops being screwed is what affects the focus of it. I'm actually wondering, this sort of like adhesive that was put on here, if that is actually what's holding it in place. Yep, there you go. As you can see, I can now spin it in any direction that I want. So I need to do a little bit of test footage with this and put it back together. So this is about where I had marked it as sort of stock, and if I kind of rotate this way, you'll see that, this distance to about those shovels and stuff is pretty much in focus. Get out here, look at some of those trees and things, and they're kind of blurry. And so if we rotate it one direction, trees get more and more and more blurry. Things that are super up close, like my hand, are now in focus, so it's almost like we turned it into a macro camera here. So we'll go back to standard, and then just start rotating the other direction, and these leaves and things in the tree should be getting sharper. Just a matter of finding the right spot. That's where it was. That's about maybe where I think that it should be. I'm just going to put a couple dabs of this silicone on, just in a couple spots around that perimeter there. Not too much, whereas if I want to come back and do this again, I can get it back off. But I'll let that dry, put it all together, hopefully with all the right pieces in the right spot, and see how it looks. And then we'll move on to stage 2 of how can I get some smoother footage from this camera. One of the things that people that shoot with a GoPro Hero 7 Black with the Hyper Smooth have noticed is that instead of mounting on a chest mount, you can use a full face helmet, mount it upside down from a chin bar, and your head sort of acts as a gimbal, so as you move around, your head is kind of stabilizing the shot even more. I do not have a full face helmet. What I do have is this crazy contraption here that I've made, and this is just an old road bike helmet. Some 3mm PVC that I got out of the scrap bin at work, and I just hand cut it, zip tied it on, put a little mount down here for the camera to go onto. And you know, I know this thing looks ridiculous, but I'm willing to put it on my head anyway for the good of the film. So what I'm going to do is run the same section of trail twice. I'll run it first with the chest mount like I typically film with, and then again with this on, and we'll see which one looks better. First up is the chest cam, and I'm on a little section of trail that's hard packed, pretty smooth, pretty straight, and you'll notice that the camera has a little bit of left and right jerkiness, I believe coming from my shoulders moving left and right as I pedal. Same section of trail, this time on the helmet cam, and it looks like I'm onto something with this. Definitely a smoother look to the footage, and kind of more of a floating look. Now back to the chest cam. I'm on a little bit of a rock garden. It's a slight uphill, so you do have to pedal a bit. And you can see the handlebars are moving around a lot, so it's shaking a lot, but the overall stabilization is pretty good. Still getting some of that left and right movement, but overall not too bad. Same rock garden section with the helmet cam this time, and things are starting to fall off the rails right about here. You'll see some up and down jerkiness and vibration and blurred image because of it. And I think that has to do a little bit with the fact that the helmet might be moving around. It also could have to do with the fact that the chin bar that I made is not made out of a completely rigid material. Back to the chest cam here for a little uphill section, and right here you're going to see left and right movement, a lot of it. Again, I think that has to do with the shoulders moving left and right, so the camera is doing the same, and it's just not able to compensate for that movement with the stabilization. Same uphill section with the helmet cam this time, and you will see that that left and right movement is gone. Definitely an improvement compared to the chest cam right here. So now I'm into a little bit of a downhill section with the chest cam, and it's actually pretty smooth going through here, although keep in mind I'm not pedaling up until right about here. You can see that left and right movement again as I pedal in this little punchy uphill section. Same downhill section with the helmet cam this time, and aside from some little vibrations that you can see in the image, the overall stabilization is pretty good. You can come up here, for some reason I look to the left, I don't know why, but you don't really get any of that left and right movement as I pedal up this uphill section. Chest cam once again for a little bit of a technical section, so there's little uphill rocks. I did see some left and right movement from the pedaling. I'm going to go over some roots right here. Generally not looking too bad overall. And then we're going to approach a little bit of a downhill with a quick left, right, left. So let's take a look at how that is. Same little technical section coming up here. A little bit of up and down vibration with that bump there. One thing that I would like to point out is that with the camera being mounted to the helmet, it's obviously going to be pointed in whatever direction I'm looking. And you'll see in this quick little left, right, left up here, my head is turned in the direction of the upcoming trail before the bike sort of follows around. So it gives you a better overall impression of the trail, I think. And more left and right movement from that chest cam as I pedal, approaching a downhill, somewhat technical section. And the overall stabilization is pretty good here. It's not very jerky. You can kind of see the bike and the handlebars moving around, and the frame stays kind of centered. And And then coming up on this little jump here, check that out, all of 2 inches of air off of that bad boy. Back to the helmet cam for that same downhill section. If I was pedaling at the start, didn't really notice any left and right movement. We're seeing a repeat of that same sort of up and down movement instead from the helmet. And as we go on down here and across, we're going to hit that jump one more time. Ooh, maybe that one was 2.5 inches that time. Alright, so I'm just going to let some helmet cam footage roll while I give some overall impressions. I think that this concept was really good with the helmet chin mount, and I think it was just the execution that was bad on my end. That PVC is not completely rigid, that helmet probably moved around on my head a little bit, and I think that's what's causing almost all of this up and down vibration and movement. So a full face helmet may be in my future, and if there is, then I'll definitely follow up with another video. One of the other things I'd like to point out is we just saw a little uphill section and you could see the bike was in the frame, but the horizon wasn't, and not as much of the trail as you would like. Now we're going to go into a downhill section here, and you'll see a lot of the trail, you'll see a lot of the horizon line, but you don't see the bike in the frame anymore. And that's just because this position on the chin bar is a little bit higher compared to the chest mount. So maybe there's some way that I can drop the camera down a little bit and get just a little bit of a better framed picture. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's probably safe to assume that if you've made it this far, you were also out filming mountain biking. So hopefully you learned something from this, and maybe there's something you can take away and use it to improve your own footage. If you did enjoy the video, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you enjoy videos from me in general, then hit the subscribe button. Also, definitely check out my previous videos, and I'll see you for a new video soon.